So we're talking about the Taycan Turbo S. What is the Taycan, Bernie?
This is Porsche's foray into the electric car world, the electric sports car world, which is really exciting. It's, to me, kind of the first serious competitor for the Tesla Model S. It's a four-door vehicle, sports car, some pretty cool specs.
So right in line with Tesla having to be careful, there was a little bit of a siren noise there. So there's some pretty cool things about this car. Starts out at 616 horsepower and bursts to 670 horsepower. That's a lot of power.
It is a lot of power. Now we're talking about the Turbo S version, are we not, with that?
Well, yeah, at the highest level. It has a burst mode of 2 some odd seconds. It'll go up to 670 horsepower at the Turbo S.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, a pretty amazing amount of power. And I mean, we're seeing this with a lot of, the Teslas, they're way up there. The X and the S all have those kind of horsepower figures. And there's a number of other electric cars that will be coming out that are going to have the same specs. So,
or more.
Yeah. And high horsepower, it just seems to be an easy thing to create nowadays with electric motors.
So the 0 to 60 time is as fast as 2.6 seconds, which is really quick. I mean, impossible kind of numbers for sort of mass-produced internal combustion engine vehicles for an awfully long time.
Yeah. I mean, that's really fast. It's a really fast time. You think like even 0 to 60 in 4 seconds in an internal combustion engine car is super, super fast. So 2.6 is insane.
Pulling a lot of G's.
Yeah.
The other big one that stuck out for me was the charge time from 5 to 80% in 22 minutes, which is really quick. That's DC charging, which is really kind of rare. And to get that kind of charging time, well, let's talk about that. How many places are actually available to do that kind of DC charging, because it's an 800 volt system.
Yeah, and I have no idea where you'd even get that kind of charging. It's almost like having to, saying, hey, great, we've got this car with this feature, but you have to use racing gas to get the power out of it. Where's that infrastructure? Like there isn't any that I can see, and a lot of it is, I think a lot of the charging is just going to happen a lot slower. It's one of those things you can brag and go, well, this car can charge, in 22 minutes, but it's, where are you going to get that done? No one's going to install that in their house, because you don't really need to charge your car in 22 minutes in your house. So, the infrastructure doesn't seem to exist. So perhaps it's a bet on the future that's the direction things are going to go, because electric car technology is still very young. But maybe that's the whole idea behind it, because 800 volts, the 800 volt electrical system is unique to this car.
Absolutely. So, and for there's some things I really don't like about this car, and let's talk about that. Before we get to that, though, what do you like? What do you think that's really cool about this car?
Well, I think what's really cool about it, it's a Porsche. I mean, they've been making amazing sports cars for many years. If you look back at their model years, a decade or even a little more than that ago, they really only had 2 cars. They had the 911, they had the Boxster, which is kind of like a cheaper version of a 911. They didn't even have an SUV like back 15 years ago. And and since then they've made a 4-door sports sedan, the Panamera. They've got the Cayenne. They've got the Macan. They've branched enormously out, but everything's always got that sort of sports car Porsche feel to it. High performance, even though some of the Cayennes, some of them, the entry levels weren't so high performance, but nonetheless, it's got high performance features, air suspension, tight shifting transmissions, all those kind of things you expect out of a sports car. So this is Porsche's version of the electric car, which is really exciting, because I know they're going to do it right, and it's going to be a super fun car to drive with a lot of styling, luxury, and speed.
So that's the good parts about Porsche. Here's some of the things that kind of bug me about it. It's a stupid name.
Yeah.
Well, there's no turbo in this car. There's no Turbo S. It's electric.
Yeah, they could have used a different name for it. I think they're just, they're just kind of going on the badging of, when you look at a 911, there's like the 911, then there's the, turbo, and then there's a Turbo S, and there's a cabriolet. So I think they're just kind of following that kind of nameplate, and it may fade away at some point.
So we already talked about the 800-volt battery. I'd like to get your opinion about that in a second, as you know, repairing cars, because that's a lot of juice floating around. But it only gets 265 miles of range, which is like 100 miles less than a similarly energy dense battery pack like a Tesla has. 100 miles less. That's a lot of difference. So why? I haven't seen any reporting or explanation from Porsche VW about why that's the case, but it's a bit disappointing. What do you think about that?
I don't know why either, because you'd think it should get that, I mean, same type of range with those specs, but it's possible that, I mean, the weight, this is a heavy vehicle, 5,100 pounds. You know, I think we looked at a Model S is 45 or something, which is a heavy vehicle too. So, I mean, there's an extra quite a few hundred pounds, and hauling around a lot of luxury features. You know, I mean, those are energy hog items. So, no, again, I'm just going to keep comparing this to a Tesla Model S, but it's like, again, a Model S is a luxury car too. So it has those similar, you know, climate control features and all those type of things that will use electricity. But, you know, it's hard to know for sure why it's so much less. You know, you'd think it would definitely have a larger range.
Yeah. So, you know, they use a 2-speed transmission in this vehicle, which is a really complicated little item that you don't see on other electric cars, other than maybe conversions where they use the mechanical transmission that was originally there for the ICE engine. So they claim that it's for both, so they can get both fast acceleration and a higher top speed, which I got to call a little bit of bullshit on that, because frankly, the Model S accelerates faster, the P100D accelerates faster, and it has a slightly or the same high top speed. So why would they put a 2-speed transmission in?
Well, I guess, you know, to me, it was an engineering decision somewhere, and I don't know, does it make the car more durable? Because I think one thing about this car that was supposed to be, you know, one of the features of this car was that you could drive it at high speed for longer. You know, it was more durable. So perhaps that's part of it. Don't really know, but we talked about that track in Germany,
Nürburgring.
Nürburgring. Thank you. I should know this stuff. But anyways, you know, there's the, you know, 2 weeks ago, the Taycan was the fastest car to run that track, or the fastest electric car to run that track.
Four-door electric.
Four-door electric car. Since then, Tesla's come out with a car that's beat it. So, you know, is there going to be a little fight between, you know, we're talking like, you know, a few seconds here, a few seconds there. It's like, and no one's ever going to be driving their car on that track, and no one's, you know, and you can't drive around the roads here, any twisty, windy roads, and you're never going to know which one of those two cars is better. But it's a nice bragging rights. But I think, you know, the idea with the Taycan was the 2-speed would have more durability to run tracks like that. But Tesla's proven without that they can do the same thing. So I don't know why they have it. I guess they just figured they needed to.
Yeah, well, I think as a, you know, for the repair guys, perhaps it's, you know, that extra little bit of complication, because the electric motor is not really going to have any issues. The batteries might need to be changed. The transmission might be something that wears out, so needs to be fixed or has issues. So maybe that's the reason.
Well, I'm in the auto repair business. I always, you know, I hate to say it, but, you know, stuff that goes wrong is good for our business.
Absolutely.
You never want cars that are built too well. And there are some internal combustion engine cars that, you know, sometimes I look at them like some Toyota Corollas, like 200 something thousand kilometers. I look at them, go, wow, there isn't even a drip of oil coming out of this engine. It's like trouble free. It's
going to last 400,000 or 500,000 kilometers.
Yeah, but you know, most of them are like, oh, you know, that thing, it's got like 100,000 kilometers. It's dripping oil from the oil pan. Anyways, I'm diverting off here.
So they used LG pouch cells for the batteries in this, and that might be a key as to why it's a little bit heavier, why it doesn't have the same kind of range, because Tesla did a tremendous amount of research and some really smart calculations to move to using the packaged, the can cells that they use. This is the battery out of a original Model S. 18650 is the denominator on it. It's an overly overweight AA cell. So the LG pocket pouch cells basically are a lot bigger, and I think there's issues around trying to cool it. I think that's why Tesla went with the can cells, is because they could get a lot more cooling into the each cell and keep the temperature controlled in a lot better way, and which is really proven out in the Model 3. It's really doesn't have the same issues that the Model S originally had. They're solving that now as they move to more of the larger, there's a second generation of battery that's just a little bit bigger. So the pouch cells they're all like the Chevy Bolt uses the pouch cells. There's numerous other ones. A Nissan Leaf, I think, uses pouch cells as well. So it's not the high-end, super high-performance vehicles that are using pouch cells. So they use that. I'm a little bit of a doubter on that as being the right thing, and I think that maybe is why the car is a little bit heavier. What do you think?
It could well be. In terms of keeping up to date on battery technology, I'm a little behind on that curve. So, but I would think that they would use. I guess they don't want to copy Tesla, but Tesla seems to have the edge in terms of using the best technology.
And then the big one for me is this one really sucks. The pricing. When I go on looking at it in Canada, we're in Canada, the prices start at around $174,000, and the Turbo S starts at $214,000. And of course, with the way Porsche does it, which is very typical in the way most traditional manufacturers do things, you start adding in all the accessories, like, if you want extra, all the different ways that you can charge this car, because there's both AC and DC charging. If you want lane keeping assistance, if you want adaptive cruise control, if you want cameras all around the car, which if I'm going to buy a high-end car at this kind of pricing with that kind of technology, and I want cameras and all the doodads, quite honestly, and it's easily going to top $240,000.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's kind of nuts. I mean, to me, like if I'm buying a luxury car, a high-end car, I just want everything. Like I just want it fully loaded. So why not? And I think most people who want to buy these kind of cars would probably think the same way. It's like, you pull up somewhere and you go, well, I bought this car, but it hasn't got this and hasn't got that. To me, I'm the kind of person who go, I just like those features, like it's got this and it's got, glass roof and, and these fancy leather seats and, massage chairs. I mean, that's cool stuff to brag about. And if you're going to spend $170,000 in a car, why not spend $250,000? I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of out of the range of most people anyway. So why not spend that extra kind of money on getting the fully loaded version?
It might, like we were joking about earlier, it might get you the better seat at the hot new restaurant in Monte Carlo.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you have all the right options.
Yes.
But the other thing you and I talked about is like, if you sell a car, like, okay, so say you sell 100,000 units of a car and 10,000 of them have air suspension and 90,000 of them don't have it. It's all of a sudden it makes that air suspension option really expensive to buy and to service in the future. Whereas if every car comes with it, yes, it's going to be a more expensive car, but the overall cost to service the car and to sell the car, it goes down per unit. So, in a way, it kind of just makes more sense, and it's easier to manufacture. If you're running an assembly line of all cars that are all the same, except for maybe the paint color, it's going to be a cheaper car in the end. So that $240,000 Taycan could be down to maybe 210. If every car had the same level of options.
Yeah.
And as I said, like, I mean, I'm in the car repair business. So I think, future, like when you have cars that have like rare options, all of a sudden those rare options become like, oh, you can only buy them from the dealer and which dealers probably like because they can sell parts, but they're not going to sell that many of them. Whereas if every car has that system, then all of a sudden it becomes cheaper to fix because, there's more parts made and it's generally better for the automotive consumer.
So the other big value that Porsche has been bragging about is they're using DC synchronous electric motors in the car, which are really the future, I think, of how electric motors are the next generation of electric motors. They're more compact, they have more power, they're smaller, lighter, they're easier to cool. You can actually get cooling right into the shafts, the drive shafts in the motor and around the drive shafts and around the actual stator as well as the rotor. So it's a lot easier to cool it. And it's something that Tesla recognized fairly early on and have actually moved. The Model 3 uses that same kind of motor on both front, if you have a two motor one, both the front and back. So, they're changing. The new Model S's will probably move. The back motor in the Model S is an AC, asynchronous motor. But it's very interesting. Power density is a really important thing. And there's definitely new motors coming on stream in the next few years that are going to be half the size of the motors today. And they're already really light. I think it was 350 pounds for the motor and energy control system on this, which is, how's that compared to an ICE motor?
Yeah, for the amount of power it puts out, it's very light. And now I'm assuming that's with the trend, the gearbox and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazingly light. When you think even like an aluminum block V8 engine with a transmission, that's got to be half the weight. And compact too. That's what's neat is it's so small.
Yeah, and 400 horsepower.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So there's a lot, and so many few moving parts. This is always the key, of electric motors. There's just one rotating shaft, where it's like just
thousands of less parts, basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. When you take that and you take an automatic transmission, you look at all the parts in there, that and a variable valve timing, V8 engine, overhead cam. There's a lot of bits and pieces moving around. It's pretty amazing how they actually hold together.
So you've been looking at electric motors of all kinds and types for a long time, 38 years essentially, because they've been used in different situations, starter motors or alternators, or they're all the same. How have you seen? How's the evolution been as they've gotten a lot smaller?
Oh yeah, absolutely, way smaller. But I noticed like alternators have actually got larger because cars now, internal, there's a lot of electrical demand in a modern car with all the computer systems and engine management, computer systems. A lot of cars have electric power steering. So the electrical system in an internal combustion engine car is much larger than it used to be at one time. So the alternators have actually got bigger, but they put out a lot of power. And some of them are like 200 amp alternators.
Wow.
And not enormous compared to what used to be out there, but they tend to be bigger. And starter motors have got smaller and smaller. Even on diesels, some of them, they used to be, remember the old Chevy diesels? They had these massive starters that weighed a lot, and now they're like half the size, and they spin faster and much more durable. The other thing about electrical systems in cars, I noticed my son seems to like older 80s Toyotas, and it's interesting. He had bought a Celica, and it's funny because we went out driving and you turn the windshield wipers on and a few accessories, and you can see the energy of the car is just dimming, like the lights get dimmer, and you can see they have a charging gauge. You can see it gets weaker. Like the car just didn't put out enough energy electrically to even keep everything running. And yet you take anything, even the last 15, 20 years of internal combustion cars, the electrical system is just so much more robust. You don't really notice, you turn everything on and it's like, even at idle, it's still got tons of power. So
yeah, and they move more and more of the systems. Instead of being belt driven, they're electrically driven. So you have electric air conditioning in some vehicles, etc., fans, all that sort of stuff is just more and more is driven by electric.
Yeah,
because it saves on burning dinosaurs.
Yeah, and actually interesting. A Toyota Prius, I think from 2011 and newer, has no drive belt. So if I was in the belt business, I'd be worried. But interestingly enough, there are a lot of hybrid vehicles. There's there are a lot of hybrid vehicles. They're called mild hybrids, where they actually they don't have a starter. They use the alternator as a motor generator, and they actually have a more robust drive belt, so that actually cranks the engine over, which is kind of cool. So, so there's a win for the belt business for a little while until we go fully electric, which we're diverting off the Taycan here because there are no drive belts in the Taycan.
Yeah. So the Taycan, I think the Taycan is a, well, we talk it in the German way, it's a Taycan. The Taycan is a very impressive car and really quite welcome. It's nice to see that one of the big manufacturers in the performance side of the equation is stepping in as making a really fast, really high performance car. It's a bit fat, quite honestly. I don't particularly like the styling. I think you're a fan of the styling, but it's really expensive.
Yeah. But then, Porsches are, but this is actually even more than a lot of them, it's even more than a Panamera, or, it's up to the price of a high-end 911, but you're getting something unique. And one thing always to remember in electric cars, you don't have to put gas in the tank. So, if you spend an extra, of course, if you don't drive it much, which a lot of Porsche people don't, who cares about the price of gas? But, it is a kind of thing where, you're plugging the car in and electricity is cheap, and you're currently not paying any road tax, and you can drive in, at least around here, in HOV lanes and stuff, which is those kind of perks will disappear, I predict, at some point. But right now there's some advantages. You can drive your sports car down the HOV lane around here.
Yeah. So and I guess it sort of ignites the whole thing of, okay, well, who's going to have the highest performance EV, electric vehicle? Because, they've set a mark at the Nürburgring, and Tesla went out then within a couple of weeks and brought one of their new 3-motor pilot they've been testing these vehicles for a while, I guess. And so they shipped a couple over to Germany to run them at the Nürburgring, and they beat the Porsche record hand time, not official yet, by 20 seconds within a couple weeks. And they're saying that by next month, they'll have the cars back and tuned better, and they'll be getting down to a 705, which is incredibly fast. Like, that's up there with some of the fastest supercars that have ever done the Nürburgring. That's really quick. That's a long track. So 7 minutes and 5 seconds at that is a really, really high speed average to be going around that track. And of course, quietly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Some cars aren't allowed to actually do the Nürburgring anymore because they're too loud.
Really?
Yeah. There's people that live all around the valley, and it's just ridiculous how loud some vehicles are.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So there you go. That's the Porsche Taycan. Welcome to the game, Porsche. We love to see you. I wish you would have made it cheaper, but on the other hand, if I had the money, I'd buy one. How about you?
Yeah, it'd be fun. Be a fun car to own. Definitely a fun car to drive. I know it'll be awesome.
So there you go. Thanks so much for listening. Connect with us at connect@cartruth.com. Leave any comments on YouTube, or please give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. We really appreciate it. It really helps other folks find our show. All our past shows are online. And of course, all new shows appear magically once you subscribe to the podcast. It's a free subscription. Say hi on social media. We're on all the platforms. And of course, look for Car Truth when you're searching for us. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark, and talk to you soon.